What if some of the biggest decisions in your life are not being made by the version of you that you think is in control? What if your career choices, relationships, fears, ambitions, and self destructive habits are being influenced by ancient patterns buried deep inside your mind? Carl Jung called these patterns archetypes. An archetype is not just a personality type, it is a psychological role, image, or force that appears across cultures, myths, dreams, religions, and stories. The hero, the ruler, the rebel, the lover, the fool, the caregiver, the wounded child, and the magician appear again and again because they represent something universal within the human experience. Whether you realize it or not, certain archetypes may be running your life right now. The problem is not that you have archetypes within you, but that most people are unconscious of which archetype has taken control. You may believe you are making a rational decision while secretly acting from the wounded child, think you are being independent while the rebel is destroying every stable opportunity, or call it love while the lover is addicted to intensity, fantasy, and validation. When an archetype operates unconsciously, it can possess you. You stop using the archetype and the archetype starts using you. Today, we are exploring the archetypes that shape your decisions, how they appear in their healthy and shadow forms, and how to stop being controlled by forces you do not understand. Let us begin with the hero. Driven by courage, challenge, achievement, and the desire to overcome obstacles, this is the part of you that wants to prove itself, conquer difficulty, and rise above weakness. It appears whenever you begin a fitness journey, build a business, fight through hardship, or commit yourself to a difficult goal. In its healthy form, the hero gives you discipline and resilience, teaching you that pain can be endured and fear does not have to make the final decision. But the shadow hero is addicted to struggle. Some people become so identified with the hero that they cannot live without an enemy, a crisis, or a battle to prove their worth. Peace starts to feel uncomfortable because they only know who they are when they are fighting. The unconscious hero may sabotage stability just to create another challenge, refuse help because help feels like weakness, or stay inside painful situations because suffering has become part of its identity. Ask yourself, do I genuinely want peace, or do I only feel valuable when I am overcoming pain? Next is the ruler. The ruler archetype represents order, leadership, responsibility, authority, and control. This is the part of you that wants to take command, organize chaos, create structure, and build something that lasts. In its mature form, the ruler protects others, creates stability, and takes responsibility instead of making excuses. The ruler does not wait to be rescued. It becomes the person capable of handling the situation. But the shadow ruler becomes controlling, believing everything must happen according to its plan. It struggles to trust others, micromanaging relationships, work, emotions, and even the future. When the ruler is wounded, control becomes a defense against fear. Terrified of uncertainty, they attempt to control every detail around them. If you become angry whenever life does not follow your expectations, the shadow ruler may be active. Real power is not the ability to control everything, it is the ability to remain grounded when you cannot. Then we have the rebel. The rebel archetype exists to challenge false rules, oppressive systems, and outdated beliefs, asking the question everyone else is afraid to ask: why should things remain this way? In its healthy form, the rebel creates change, breaks generational patterns, and refuses to accept a life built on fear, conformity, and social approval. The rebel can leave the path everyone expected, challenge a toxic system, or reject beliefs that were never truly its own. But the shadow rebel does not know what it believes, it only knows what it opposes. This person may reject advice simply because someone else gave it, destroy healthy relationships because commitment feels like captivity, or confuse self-sabotage with freedom. The shadow rebel can become addicted to conflict, needing something to resist, and when there is no enemy, it may turn against itself. A mature rebel does not reject every structure. They choose which structures deserve to be broken and which are necessary for growth. Discipline may feel restrictive, but without discipline, freedom becomes chaos. Next is the lover. The lover archetype is connected to beauty, intimacy, pleasure, passion, emotion, and connection, allowing you to experience life deeply. In its mature form, the lover brings warmth and appreciation, helping you connect with another person without losing yourself. But the shadow lover becomes dependent on validation. It may chase emotionally unavailable people because longing feels more powerful than stability, confuse obsession with connection, or abandon its own needs to remain desirable. The wounded lover fears that without another person's attention, it has no value, creating attachment, jealousy, fantasy, and emotional addiction. You may not actually be in love with the person. You may be in love with the version of yourself that appears when they choose you. The mature lover learns that love is not possession. It does not require the destruction of your identity, but allows connection while preserving self respect. Then there is the caregiver. The caregiver is driven by service, compassion, protection, and sacrifice. In its healthy form, the caregiver creates emotional safety, nurturing and protecting to bring kindness into a harsh world. But the shadow caregiver uses helping as a way to feel needed. It rescues people who refuse to rescue themselves, gives until it becomes resentful, and avoids its own problems by focusing on everyone else's. Some caregivers are secretly terrified that if they stop providing value, people will leave, so they overgive and solve problems nobody asked them to solve. They accept disrespect because they want to see themselves as loyal. But helping someone is not always the same as loving them. Sometimes constant rescue prevents another person from developing responsibility. The mature caregiver understands that compassion also requires boundaries. You can care about someone without carrying their entire life. Now we reach the fool. The fool represents play, humor, spontaneity, innocence, and the ability to reveal truth through comedy. In its healthy form, the fool keeps life from becoming rigid, reminding you that not every mistake is the end of the world, and helping you laugh at your own ego. But the shadow fool refuses to take anything seriously. It uses humor to avoid vulnerability, turning pain into jokes because honesty feels too dangerous, or sabotaging opportunities because responsibility threatens its freedom. The fool can become the person who entertains everyone but never allows anyone to see what is really happening inside. Sometimes the funniest person in the room is using humor as armor. The mature fool can laugh without escaping reality, knowing when to play and when to face the truth. Then we have the orphan, sometimes called the wounded child. This archetype is connected to abandonment, rejection, insecurity, and the fear of being unsupported. In its healthy form, this archetype develops empathy and realism because it understands suffering. But when the wounded child takes control, adult situations become filtered through old pain. A delayed text becomes abandonment, constructive criticism becomes rejection, and a disagreement becomes proof that nobody truly cares. You may react to the present with emotions that belong to the past. The goal is not to destroy the wounded child, but to stop allowing the child to make adult decisions. You can acknowledge fear without obeying it, feel abandoned without chasing someone, and feel rejected without deciding that you are worthless. Finally, there is the magician. The magician archetype represents transformation, knowledge, perception, symbolism, and the ability to create change by understanding hidden patterns. In its healthy form, the magician is a teacher, strategist, healer, artist, or inventor who sees possibilities that others miss, turning confusion into understanding and pain into meaning. But the shadow magician becomes manipulative, using psychological knowledge to control people, or becoming obsessed with secret knowledge while ignoring basic action. The shadow magician collects books, concepts, and symbols, but never changes their habits, wanting access to power without accepting responsibility. The mature magician understands that knowledge must become practice. A ritual without action is imagination. A belief without discipline is fantasy. An intention without behavior is only a thought. So how do you work with these archetypes? First, stop asking which archetype you are. You contain all of them, and different archetypes become active in different situations. You may be the ruler at work, the wounded child in relationships, the rebel around authority, and the fool when emotions become uncomfortable. The question is not, which archetype am I? But rather, which archetype is controlling me right now? When you feel a powerful emotional reaction, pause and ask yourself, what role am I playing? What does this part of me want? What is it afraid will happen? What would the mature version of this archetype do? The hero may want to fight, but the mature hero knows which battles matter. The ruler may want control, but the mature ruler can tolerate uncertainty. The rebel may want to destroy, but the mature rebel builds something better.